Our guest for this episode is my long lost and found brother, Jeremy Ian Thomas, who is a multimedia artist and polymath with roots in music, film, philosophy, and 3D visual content creation based in Los Angeles, California. What's up, brother? Welcome.
Ashe. It's nice to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
So good. Feels like Christmas every time. The few times we've connected, I get this kind of childlike excitement and joy, like rediscovering ancient treasure in your presence, in myself.
Me too, man.
But it's a twist of the Christmas with Pan. We got the goat god up in this motherfucker. Christopher has to, play his role and chill a little bit because Pan's dancing as well. Anyway, to begin the first of many conversations, to continue, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are on your journey?
Okay, so I have been creative for the majority of my life. I think it was 8 years old when I realized, I want to make music. I was really into hip hop, Run DMC. My real father, who I barely know, is like a prodigy guitar player. So on a genetic level, I just came out a musician. Like I knew I could feel it. But I was a little white kid, in a white family. So it was like, I don't think I can do rap music. I don't look anything like, Rev Run or whatever. Like, how am I going to do this? So the safe path into that was breakdancing. So I was like, oh, let me try to dance. And that was tough. Breakdancing was tough. And up until about 10, that's what I kind of primarily focused on, was trying to breakdance. It felt good. It was rhythmic. There was something that the drums had always called me. They had always called me. And when I had found hip hop originally at 8 years old, I remember I was walking down the street in my grandmother's neighborhood. She raised me. And I heard this thumping noise, had never heard it. Because my mom was listening to Carlos Santana, which is amazing. The Allman Brothers. So I grew up on kind of swampy white people soul music with a little Latin twist. So I knew what funky was, but this was different. This sounded tribal. And I walked up to this guy, I'll never forget, his name's Dominic. I'm like 8 years old. He's sitting on a giant boombox and my Adidas from Run DMC is playing. And I'm just like, what is this? He's like, it's rap music. And I was like, okay, where's that from? He's like, it's from New York. So then he kind of showed me the ropes, put, wax on the platter, showed me what records were, what scratching was. So fast forward, I'm 10, breakdancing, but not very well. And I'm watching something called The Box. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of The Box. It was like this, where you could order music videos on your phone. You had to call it in, and there was like a queue wait list. Wow. So I was always trying to order Microphone Fiend by Eric B. and Rakim. Because when he walked down the stairs in that music video and he grabbed the microphone, I was like, that's it, bro. I'm done hiding. I want to be a rapper. That's it. I want to rap. I don't care who knows. I don't care, right? So I had been writing a little bit of poetry. And over the next 3 years, wrote a lot. No beats, no nothing, just poetry, learning. And told my mom when I was 13, I want to be a rapper. And she sighed and was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I want to be a rapper. I recorded my first song at 14, and it was like real good. Like I could play it for you now. It's real good. I'm like talking about pathogens, and I'm like at 13 years old. So I dropped out of high school because I was going to be a rapper, smoking a lot of weed. And
Sound familiar?
you know how it goes.
The whole story.
I got into LSD at like 15, 16. So I actually graduated with the GED at like 16. I didn't even graduate. I wasn't even like 17 yet. And I started rocking shows in Tampa. I come from Tampa, Florida. Tampa's a very culturally rich place. There's Jamaicans and Haitians and Cubans and graffiti artists, and it's a melting pot. And so I was out in the city. I would sneak out of my mom's house at 12 midnight and come out the back, and this DJ who knew I could really rap would come scoop me, drive me all the way to Ybor City, get me in the back door of the club because I couldn't get in. I was too young. I'd go into a room full of African people, basically, a couple white people splattered in there, and at 16, rock the house, blow the place up, and they'd sneak me back out and send me in a taxi home. And I would do that every weekend, like during school weeks too. So then I got caught up, man, in some drug stuff. You know, Florida is like the main artery for the drug trade. So cocaine, perico was everywhere. And I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I got into selling it. And while I'm making music at the same time, Raekwon's album, Cuban Links, had come out. So it all made sense because all they were talking about was selling dope. And I was like, perfect. I can rap and sell dope. This is perfect. But it got gnarly because we were getting stuff on consignment. And my boy had got hooked. He was essentially getting fronted cocaine and doing it all. And after a while, that game runs out after a little while.
Yeah.
And he was into the people, some gnarly people, some south of the border folks, for about 50 or 60 grand. He owed them at 17, 18 years old. And one day I was dealing with a gun charge, classic. I had some gun issues going on. And the homicide detective came by. We hadn't seen him in a few weeks and told us they found his body in Tampa Bay. And that if I was involved in that I needed to jet. I needed to leave town even for a month or 2 months, get out of town. My stepdad was in the military, so he was like, you're going in the Army. So wow. I signed up literally the next day. I'm still, coming off MDMA. I'm like been partying for 2 years. So I'm like tweaked out at the recruiter's office taking the test. Literally a week later, I was on a plane for Fort Leavenworth and was in the Army for 3 years, man, and sold dope in the Army. But then met the mother of my child there. Came back to Florida, somewhat reformed. I had a love now. I knew I wanted full-fledged music. I came back to Florida and got back with my crew, and we just ran the city for like 3 years. I opened for Wu-Tang Clan, Black Sheep, Black Moon, KRS-One. KRS is one of my mentors. He's always been in my life. Chris is like a dope guy. And I started a group called Double Helix, me and my homeboy, and we crushed it. We were like crushing the Southeast. And that group fizzled out a little bit. I went on to release some solo records that did very well. #1 on College Music Journal for like 25 weeks. Went to 30 countries in 2006. I was on the road for like 200 days that year. Then my wife got pregnant and I didn't have a father growing up. And so I had to make the decision of like road warrior or father. And for me, that was no choice at all. So I chose father. And I went to film school. So that's what brought me to LA. I went to the Los Angeles Film School in 2007, thinking, I can do this shit. I've seen enough movies. And people do not realize that filmmaking is the cross-section of all the hardest creative disciplines in the world. You have, industrial design, you have hair and makeup, you got music, and they all have to synthesize. And so I didn't know that coming in. You just think it's like music. I can just make a beat. I can make a movie. No. It took me 8 years of just pure, I didn't do music. I made beats, but I didn't really stop releasing music and focused primarily on filmmaking for 8 full years. And then I started to direct, had some short films, get into Tribeca, one at Heartland. But what I had really become was like a post-production hound. So living in LA, not knowing anybody, when I came out here, I left my wife and son in Florida because I had a stipend at my school. They paid my school and they gave me money to survive because it was an immersion program. So I would take that, pay their rent, pay bills at home, and then take the little bit I had left and live here in LA and eat. I was doing one Hungry Man meal a day for about a year. Lost a bunch of weight. I was out here on some Rambo shit, man. And then they moved out. I know I'm jumping around a little bit,
no,
but
it's beautiful.
The context is there. Once they came out, I just went full force. I didn't know anyone. So it was like I'd learned enough in school that I knew where to look. I knew what YouTube to watch. And so I learned editing, After Effects, color correction, sound design. I just learned it all. It was like, I better know how to do this because I don't know anyone. Then I randomly got a job as a colorist. I had done my short film at my school and had my family out to see it for a viewing party. And it was at this theater called Hollywood DI on the lot off of Formosa, which was like a very famous Douglas Fairbanks, all this stuff. I didn't know any of that. I rented it because it was $100 for the theater. show my film, which was like, I was just embarrassed. It was so bad. But I had done some stuff to it, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know it was called color correction. But I was like, this is so bad. I have to do something really extreme to it to make it interesting. So I'd found these little circles in Avid, and I didn't know what they did, but I started moving them around, and the colors changed. I was like, all right, cool. We're going for traffic. I'm going to make traffic. This scene's going to be green. This scene's going to be red. And the guy, the owner of the place, was like, after it showed, he goes, is this your film? I said, yeah. He's like, man, that's pretty good for like a thesis movie. I was like, wow, thanks. He goes, who colored it? I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? He goes, did you do anything to the image? I'm like, yeah, there's these circles in Avid, and I moved them around. And he was like, you're coming, come here tomorrow. And he threw me onto Baselight, which is like essentially flying a fucking space shuttle. It's this giant board with all these like tubes and knobs. And I was like, what am I gonna do? He's like, you have a natural eye for color. Just do what's instinctually. This circle here is the colors go this way. If you move this up and down, it makes it darker and lighter. Have fun. This guy's got a music video. And I'm already within a week coloring music videos. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then
That's
I colored for 4 years. I met Terrence Malick, was one of my mentors. We'll have to do a whole podcast on that. I won't go into that story. I'm sure there's more. This is the first question.
Oh, many, bro.
But yeah, that was, brother. And then that moved me into being kind of my own post-production company. And I direct and I write music. So from there, I just kind of kept doing my thing. I started a post-production company called King Conduit. I've worked with Nike, Adidas, Reebok, Cadillac. I've done huge brand campaigns. Launched a whole Jennifer Lopez thing. I've done it all. And then all along the way, I was doing 3D stuff here and there, but I hadn't really taken it seriously. And then I'd been a fan of Beeple for many, many years, following his work and just being like, how is this guy doing this, man? How is he getting these results? He has dailies. I've been on him since 2010. And 2017, I'd found one of his projects. I think I had downloaded it in 2010. He was giving away his Cinema 4D projects. And I think I had just downloaded it onto a hard drive for safekeeping. And I stumbled upon it. I was like, Beeple project? What? And I opened it, and there was a missing plugin called Octane Renderer, which is an external renderer, so help you get the image out of Cinema 4D. And that was the key that opened up the 3D work. And I said, all right, tried Octane, and was like, oh, this is how he's doing this. Fuck that other shit. And I said, I'm going to do dailies for 1 year and see how good I get. And by the 200th day, I was like, yo, I'm really raw at this. Because I had all the filmmaking background. So I understood cameras. You know, when you're in 3D, there's a camera. The camera moves around. So if you understand focal length and bokeh and color temperature and all this stuff I had learned in the real world, immediately applied to 3D. So I was immediately like a step above most of the people. And then NFTs randomly, I was just doing it for the love of it. I got paid a few times for some jobs. And then, of course, Mike drops these NFTs, Beeple, like Mike Winkleman. It was like, what is this? And then it was like a windfall of like, whoa, something. During the pandemic, there was a huge shift. You know, the celestial bodies decided to readjust the scales and tip it towards the arts, you know. And now
that's how I saw it too.
Our inheritance is here, and I'm reaping the benefits of that.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like stunned. That's an entire episode in and of itself. Fuck. Thank the spirits for bringing us together, man. Really.
Man. Ashe.
You are living a big life, as we just heard, and have had many deaths and rebirths during your time on Earth. How do you continue cultivating curiosity and awe in order to keep growing through all of the ups, downs, and transformations?
Wow, that's a really good question. I think I would have to say, you know, being a creator leaves me no choice. The very act of creativity is curiosity, because you have to blow off the dust off some ancient thing and figure out what it means and transmute it into a shape or a song. And so I've had to challenge myself and learn new ways to express that feel new and exciting for me to want to continue to make music or, you know, communicate in the way that I do. And so, you know, I think creativity on a high level is shapeless and formless, and in order to interact with it in that manner, you have to move out of the way. And that's been all of my work, is learning how to get out of the way. Don't project my insecurities or my egoic longings onto the art. Like, let it be what it is. And so through that process, I think most creative people, that's why they die young. They live very deep, intense lives. By the time you're 25 as an artist, you've lived, more than a 60-year-old who wasn't, exploring their creativity. People don't realize that creativity, as beautiful and wonderful it is quite a burden to have that channel open all the time and be like, I wish I could have just been an accountant and done math and made money really easily and like wore the baseball cap and ate the sausage links and like smacked my wife on the ass in the kitchen. It just wasn't my wave, right? I'm like some other thing. I'm some other person. And I think creative people can really resonate with that, And so then obviously I got very heavily into spiritual work. I've been a seeker for a long time. I started out kind of in and around the church, and then I had a friend pass away in my mid-20s and pushed me very much into the Christian way of seeing the world. That didn't last very long because I'm a mystic, and there was no gnosis at all in the church. And I was just like, oh, you guys are like, we're literally like Adam and Eve have belly buttons? Are we really talking about this right now? So but to have that experience in the church and then go on the bigger journey, and through a divorce and through custody battles where I couldn't lean, there was nothing to lean on but music, but study, but prayer, but meditation, but beautiful plant allies that I eventually found in ayahuasca and psilocybin and japé and all these medicines that these indigenous cultures have, that now I get to choose when I want an ego death. I'm like, I think I need to kill my ego. Let me go sit with ayahuasca. And then she'll sing to me and my ego runs off scared. And I'm like, see you in a little bit. Comes back totally refreshed and humbled. Okay, I'll go with you. I'll sit in the passenger seat and you can drive again. Like, okay, cool. I'm glad. So that's been a really powerful way to externalize what was already, I was already doing it, but it was so much more painful. It's so hilarious that people are so afraid of ayahuasca. It's like, do you recognize how much pain you're already in? Or people will be like, oh my God, people throw up. I'm like, yeah, thousands of people throw up on your block every weekend from alcohol. What's the difference? So it's been beautiful, man. And those rebirths always bring a new level of expression and awareness around how temporal this really all is. And that infinite feeling of, I just thought about it this morning, Alan Watts says, men suffer because they take so seriously what the gods made for fun. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's just light and shadow. I'm just going to dance with my shirt off. How about that? That's kind of where I'm at now. And now that I'm there, everyone wants to hear my music. They want to buy my art. Now that I don't care so much for the validation, they're like, where have your validation you ordered on Amazon is finally here. I'm like, I don't even really need it anymore. You can put it over there, though.
Damn.
Can I hit my vape one time?
Please, please. Infinite reflections. As we hear the thunder clunking of my 3-year-old.
Sounds like a rock.
God, it is. It's Mr. Rock as the rock.
Yeah, man. Beautiful.
Not Dwayne, just the giant
cornerstone.
Rock, the cornerstone. Wow, man. Thank you.
Man, thanks for having me. Thank you.
So to continue that idea of cultivating wonder and awe, what is your relationship with the unknown?
Man, you're going to do well at this, I think. Those are good questions, man.
Thank you.
Stuff I've pondered quite deeply. I am a full-fledged mystic. That's who I am. If people ask me, what are you? My first answer, I'm a mystic. Well, what does that mean? It's someone who's comfortable with mystery. Mystic doesn't mean I'm floating around. I mean, sometimes there's fairies and naked women around and stuff. But like mostly it's that I'm okay not knowing. People hear gnosis and think it's knowing. No, it's comfortable with the unknowing. And the real surrender, that's another thing. What do you do for a living? I surrender for a living. I float. I'm trying to float. And so I'm okay with the unknown now to a certain extent, right? I have a carnal ape mind just like everybody else that goes on fucking rampages and thwarts my, but I can see that now as necessary as well. That jousting and that wrestling, Jacob's name was Israel after he wrestled with God. So I'm leveling up. I was Jeremy Surreal. I'm Soulajit now. I wrestled very deeply with God and with God in the mask and all of that stuff. And so the idea that we'll ever know everything, I think, is a source of a lot of trauma collectively. Answers are overrated. They're really overrated. And that's why I love rabbinical approaches to communicating. I love rabbis, man. If you've ever sat with a rabbi, it's just like, I want to be like you, because they never answer your questions. Ever.
I've never
They ask
sat.
more questions.
Wow.
Because in the questions is the whole point of being here. This entire dimension is a what the fuck question. Like, what are we doing? Why am I here? Why does this keep happening? And if we didn't ask ourselves those questions, we'd never grow. There's not a ton of growth in answers because there's like complacency and stiffness in an answer. It's like, this is the answer. And that's why Christianity has failed so miserably, is because it became a religion of answers around something that was not offering answers. Judaism doesn't offer answers. Islam doesn't offer answers. And Jesus for sure wasn't offering answers. Like, are you paying attention to the same book I'm reading?
Wow.
So and now all of my art is like, I make it and I look at it and I don't quite know what to do with it. And that's when I know it's good. Yeah.
Wow. Fuck, man. Grateful to be here.
Yeah, man, me too. Thank you.
One of my favorite descriptions of language from you, Dad. I don't know where you
Shout
got
it out. Shout him out.
We got
Dad's
my
here.
dad. We got my ancestor in the flesh right behind my shoulder, and my little future ancestor upstairs jumping around. One of my favorite descriptions of language, which I'm paraphrasing here, ironically, is that words are simply signposts pointing toward the mystery. Yet we often confuse the signs for the thing they are pointing at, what you kind of were just referring to a little bit. As a creator who uses many different mediums to express, language included, how do you like to convey feelings, dreams, and ideas without trapping them in prisons of crystallized definition?
Man, this is something I'm always thinking about. I always think about if some other species from another planet was sitting right here listening to us, we would probably sound like, they'd be like, what are they doing? They're not even talking. They're like looking at each other telepathically, like, what the fuck is wrong with them? But we think it's this like crazy,
Deep.
poetic.
Yeah.
We're grunting.
Yeah.
We're making ooh and ah and there's only so many phonetics, right? There's not that many. So I think about that a lot when I get really highfalutin about what I'm trying to say. I'm like, I'm full of shit. I'm making mud pies and be like, isn't it delicious? So I think all the wisdom traditions, all of them are all communicating about witnessing, right? Whether it's Buddhism with meditation, the Vipassanas, it's all like the way that the third dimension is built, right? So imagine the 2 dimensions has 2 points, 1, 2, 3. Well, what makes the third dimension so special? We get to individualize the polarity. We get to witness the 1 and the 0, right? And the oscillations and the suffering is when we attach to either or. It's like, oh, I'm 1 or I'm 0. And then you're caught in what Alan Watts called the warp and the woof, right? You get caught in the fucking washing machine of what you think this is. Words are like that's what words and language and symbols really are helping people witness the chaos. So it's like bringing into form the formless. And so nowadays, I use as little words in my songs as possible. And people think, like people that love either really heady raps or mumble rap, they're like, yeah, what you do is so simple. I'm like, thank you. They think they're saying something bad. You don't realize how long it took me to chisel that idea into this pebble for you. I used 6 words and I did a thesis with 6 words because I think the meaning is in between the words anyways.
Shit.
right? And so with visual work, that's the same thing. Less is more. I want to use, especially in 3D, set pieces that don't need to be crazy, fancy set pieces. It'll be, in my work, usually there's 3 or 4 set pieces, nothing crazy. I'm not doing giant caves with dragons. Like you see a lot of renders, you're like, whoa, that's like straight out of the Lord of the Rings. I'm not really like, I'll go watch Lord of the Rings. I want to communicate something that on the surface looks rudimentary. And that's like MC Escher. If you look at that stuff, it looks mad simple until you really look at it. That's surrealism at its key, is the veil isn't as far away as you think it is. You know, so when you look at something simple and it cracks the veil in its simplicity, I feel like that channel is a lot clearer. The vibration of whatever I've been called to do by my guides and stuff will come through clear, because again, I'm not in the way being like, you know, hyperbole, cerbity, burbity, herbity, herbity, herbity. Like using like the dictionary to rap is so boring.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, come on, man. Nobody talks like that. Nobody talks like that.
15-year-old Zach was
Yeah,
doing
I
his
did it too,
rhyming
though.
dictionaries
I
all
did
day.
it too, bro. I did it too, you know. But like as we learn and with age and with wisdom comes a ability to communicate with just a lot less force and a lot less energy. And then that allows people to experience the thing they need to experience the most. Yeah.
I'm blown away. In my understanding, the original definition of the word genius is a spirit or angel who protects, whispers, and guides a human on their journey. In our culture, people have fallen into the habit of referring to each other and themselves as geniuses, which I find to be very dangerous for many reasons. How do you practice being a vessel for creativity to come through, stepping aside, as you put it, as opposed to believing you are the source of your creative expressions?
Another great question, man. You know, an ingenious also is like in botany and biology is a genia, or the origin, right? So that would make sense that it was spiritual. Like we can agree that genius is spiritual. Well, then that's a misnomer if you think it belongs to you. It's like, it's you, it's mounting you. And that's why my study of Ifa, the Africans knew this. The African, like the older mysticism, they understand these things in a very like rooted, earthy way. So the Orisha mount you. So if you embody Ogun, Ogun will mount you, and you can utilize that energy in your life, right? People, oh, you're possessed. Whatever, that's one word for it. I'm not running around, you know, killing chickens necessarily, not in public anyways. But I think like there's a healthy balance, because the problem I went through for a lot of my life, the challenge I had was like kind of humble brag, where like I know I'm cold. Like I'm cold at this shit. I've been real good at art for a long time, music and otherwise, but I would pretend that I wasn't, right? And so the balance of embodying, I think it's okay to embody the genii, the genie, the jinn, right? The you know, that's what the genie in the bottle, jinn in Islam, it's the same idea, right? The genius, right? As long as you understand you're not the little cup that it comes out of, you get to play with it. It didn't originate with you. It's the genius. It's the original vibration, the om, the ong, whatever. Yeah, have fun with it and embody it. Let it mount you. But just like anyone who gets too polarized to one side or the other, you get shocked. The pendulum falls through. They get their lesson. I don't really have an opinion. I see people who are high on their own supply, like, enjoy that shit, man. That's going to run out.
Yeah.
And their lesson will be something I don't want to interact with. So the way that I do it is that I've learned now, my big challenge was to sit up, right, and be like, yeah, I'm that guy. And be okay with that. Not be like, it's just the Lord working through me, you know? And like, that's partially why I got the hair. I was terrified to get the hair. I grew up with all, you know, with the understanding what appropriation was, and I understand what dreads really mean for Black people. And so I didn't get them. I've been knowing I needed to get locks for a long time. And then finally my guides were like, no, because you need to not be able to take your crown off. People have to know who you really are. I'm okay with it now. So there's always a balance. There's people who were only children and their parents told them they were the best thing at everything they ever did, and then they become musicians and they become Kanye West, right? Who is a genius. I can unequivocally say that guy is a genius, but don't know that I would want to go through the level of suffering that he's experienced so that I could say that about myself. You know, I think there's a balance. I think that you're able to utilize that energy and be confident in the fact that you're able to wield it without
Definitely.
being destroyed by it. And I think that's the challenge for anybody that operates at the level that we do, you and I both. When you have what we have, it's a lot. It's a lot of fire. It's waking up in the middle of the night with an idea. And the real challenge is that in the industry, we're the fire bearers, man. We rain down fire from heaven, right? It's not ours. It's the ether. It's like, boom, bang, song, take that. And then the people whose job it is to make the clay pots to put the fire in, low-key hate that they can't bring down fire from heaven. So there's this constant weird handshake between art and commerce because the establishment low-key knows that we're the soothsayers that are going to tell on them in the long run. So that's where the real balance comes of being genius. Let them think. I want them to think, I think I'm a star. Because I am, but also they need that from me. I'll give you that. That's magic. Magic is timing and rhythm and all the hermetic principles and being able to wield all the elements on behalf. If there's dark and light magicians, I happen to be a light bearer. So I use my magic for good, right? But I also understand the dark magic enough to tip my hat. Be like, man, that was a cold ass play you just did. That's cold blooded, bro.
Yeah.
I would never do that.
Yeah.
And you're gonna pay for that at some point. But shit, man, that was fucking pretty ill what you did. And like, I'm not gonna sign with you, but if you want to promote my record, but you know what I'm saying? Knowing and being able to dance with that energy and not demonize or scapegoat it, the shadow, you know?
Damn.
Yeah.
I can't wait to listen back to this episode many, many times throughout my life. It's interesting as someone who reads a lot to feel in this moment like I'm in a book or I'm talking to an origin source of wisdom that's alive in this moment. It's crazy. Thank you, man, for being here.
Thank you, bro.
To your guides, to everyone.
Ashe.
Yeah, for
Ashe.
real.
Ka.
And to you for wielding and holding and doing all the incredible work to be grounded in this chair.
Thank you, bro.
For real, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, just spoke to it. So I don't know if there's anything else that wants to be excavated from this question. It may be that you saw into the future and already answered it, so we can skip it if not. But maybe we personalize it to your way. But I find there to be a very fine line between confidence and cockiness, grounded self-love and fake macho bravado. Can you speak to your experience with dancing between these two states? You already did. So.
But on a personal level,
Yeah.
I can definitely go into that a little more. Cool. Very specifically, I was actually having this convo before I got here with a very powerful shaman woman that I respect, and going through a little bit of stuff with my son and his mom, and like recognizing the ways in which I abandoned my masculinity, right? So my father was abusive. Men were scary to me, bro, when I was little. They were all really scary. My grandpa was cool, but he was Sicilian and would like boss my grandma around. And my grandma was an angel. And I was just like, fucking, what's wrong with dudes? Like, this is bullshit. So I went kind of the opposite way where I was like this harbinger of female energy. Like, I'm going to be the patron saint of women. It just so happens I got dick game on lock too, you know? But like, I wanted to be there for women in a new way. And I did. And it built this unbelievable wellspring where women just immediately feel safe with me because I'm not a predator. I'm not trying to just bone you. I'm interested in what you have to say because most of my oracles have been women. And my grandmother, all of the people who have taught me the most were women. But what didn't really come into play until later in my life, probably when I was turning 40, was the lack of masculine discernment and strength I needed to harbor and push out of myself, right? So now I'm like boxing and eating a lot of red meat and saying the word no a lot. to women and to other people. Like, no. The king says no. And I'm okay with that, where culture is like toxic masculinity and men are the devil and, you know, all of that. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to go ahead and go to the other side of the pole. And people who know me can't say that about me. So if it's someone I don't know and they have that opinion, I don't really care. So I'm learning to inhabit the masculine. And that balance is no different between creativity and like the mundane way of bringing creativity into market. So creativity by definition is feminine because you're receiving the creativity, right? The masculine is giving. So you receive the creativity, you make it, you give it out. That's the flow of the feminine and masculine in all of us. I have failed to release music for a long time because I was scared. My little boy was scared of abandonment, was scared of not being accepted by the people I most wanted to be accepted by. I could put a laundry list down of why. But now that I'm healing the male part and being like, all right, man, like, cool, I'm the Odin Redding. I'm the Viking King of soul music. I'm good with it.
Odin Redding.
Yeah.
Damn. Otis is my guy.
Yeah,
that combo
was,
right there.
That was given to me by a close friend of mine that you'll eventually meet. Yeah. Now it's like the doors are flying open because there's no, I was talking to your pops about this. I felt like we had like an 8-hour conversation.
That was
like
the secret podcast for Spirit. That was
I was
the
just
Spirit
sitting there like,
podcast.
oh, whoa, like mind blown. Every single thing he was saying to me, I was just like, whoa. I was explaining, I actually just lost my thought because of that.
Odin Redding.
Oh, I don't remember what it was now. It's all right.
It's perfect.
It's all right.
That was for the Spirit podcast.
That was for the
See,
Spirit.
they just blocked you. They're like, bro, you
Sacred
can't cross
secrets.
promote
No.
this shit. The fuck?
Oh, that's great. But yeah, so I'm dealing with that now. I have to, you know, St. Francis has this amazing, the 3 no's. I don't know if you've ever heard this. Like the first no is like, no. You're like yelling no, right? Which isn't really a no because it's really charged with all this other shit. Then there's the like, no, right? Which is a little less. Then there's the real no, which is no. And that's where I'm at now. No. I don't care what your narrative is of me. I don't care whatever you got to think. No, I'm not buying that. I'm not a character in your story. You want to tell that story, have at it. That's not really me, but you can utilize my likeness as your villain if you'd like. You know, it's all right. No. And those are prevalent right now. And that has to do with, I'm walking away from large sums of money like that nowadays, like possible money that's like, nah, these people are not in alignment with me. No. Hey, we got this and that. No. You know, I'm not the droid you're looking for.
That's the Matrix right there. That's that moment, I feel like, is the no.
Seeing the ones and the zeros, as we talked about before. That movie it's so wild. That movie came right out of the Akashic fucking records.
For sure. Yeah.
Here you go.
Yeah. Damn.
I think that summed up that question a bit.
So this is the last official question. This was incredibly powerful, and again, can't express how overjoyed I am to be here with you doing this.
Excited to do more work together, man.
Me too.
It's gonna be beautiful.
Me too. The other week, you told me that our world is entering an astrological moment in time that mirrors a golden age from long ago. I know you're a double Aquarius, and you can speak to the specifics if you want. My dad has a theory that perhaps Atlantis fell because the beings inhabiting Atlantis, another us perhaps, became drunk on their own creativity and didn't know when to stop. Creating can be very addicting, as you and I both know. How do you balance your imagination and creation with times of rest? And to add to that, because I was talking about it with my therapist today, knowing kind of what is yours to create that truly wants to come through, as opposed to becoming greedy for just every shiny potential idea thing and just wanting to do it all, which inevitably is damaging to you, the ecosystem, etc.
That's like a
quadruple question.
Yeah, but that's good.
I can rewind if
No.
you need. Okay.
I'm there. I'm with you. So Firstly, yes, we are in the age of Aquarius, right? The last time that we were this deep in the way that all of the planets are, if you've noticed, there's been so many astrological events, and also mathematically, our calendars and timelines and everything are very succinct to the integer of 8, which represents as above, so below, or how the universe works, which is if you fold an 8 in on itself, it's a torus, it's a thick circle. And in physics, they believe that the universe is toroidal. So, anyways, long story short, Thoth and Atlantis and Chem, and I believe they understood all of this. There's no way that the Giza Plateau is at the very center of the landmass of the Earth. There's no way to do that except from space. So it's a sphere. It's impossible to do mathematically. Also, a lot of people don't know that the latitude and longitude of the pyramids are both the speed of light. One is in meters and one is in miles per hour. Did you know that to the exact
Vaguely.
number?
Crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah.
Pretty wild, right? So to say that, and that's all connected to Egypt and Chem. Atlantis is the precursor to Chem. Chem was like some of the civilization from Atlantis went to Chem. They brought a lot of that knowledge. It mixed a little bit with that region stuff and became Egypt later, right? So, Chem was probably, we believe, 13,000 years ago or something, 14,000. Egypt on record is about between 6 and 4,000 or 8 and 5, depending on who you're talking to. So the golden age of like the temples of Ma'at and Isis and all the stuff that was going on there was about 3,500 years ago, and it was in the age of Aquarius, right? And it was where there was just the Aquarian energy is advancement. It's a fixed sign. It's the 17th zodiac, so it's really far down into the zodiac circle. Aquarian energy is very intellectual, but what it brings with it is clarity, mental clarity. So in the tarot, they're all swords. So all the swords cards are about cutting out the thing that doesn't serve us anymore. So we're seeing that. There was a precursor with Me Too, and boom, all this stuff's just getting knifed up, dude. All the financial systems. What it does is it has to cut it so it can heal. It's already dead. Our systems are already petrified and fucked. So crypto and all of this is the way it was then. That was their rebirth. They were very much stuck, precursor to the age of Aquarius then. And when that energy came, it was just like the land of milk and honey. It was like anybody and everybody had everything they needed. But there was wars and famine for 34, 35 years previous to their reign for the next. They reigned for 2,800. I don't remember how long, a long time they reigned. Granted, they weren't perfect. Humans aren't perfect. They had some slaves and some things happen. The reason I bring that up, or, I said that to you the other day, is everyone wants to talk about this like collective house fire that we're in. Everyone's just like, it's all burning down. Fucking world is over. It's like, no. That's because you haven't learned how to die yet. Like, let it go. Let it go. The money system is fucked. It's been fucked for a really, really long time, man. The way that we exchange energy is broken. It's broken. So the idea, there's a ledger now. Imagine if Chase Bank, they worked with the Nazis most likely, right, in World War II. Imagine if there was a public ledger that you could go look up and be like, they gave $3 million to Hitler. There'd be a lot more people that wouldn't want to bank with Chase. But back then, they're able to cook the books and hide it and cronyism. That's just one thing about the blockchain that's amazing, is that there's a public record of how much the thing cost, who bought it, when they bought it, what it's valued at now. So there's a level of transparency. That's insane. That's a great place to start, right? Then there's all these other ramifications that we are in a golden age. But being born is the hardest thing we experience. We just don't remember it. We don't have any real solid memory of it, but coming out of the womb is very painful for a baby. You think it's over. It's like, I was just fucking chilling. Like I was alive, floating, and now I'm like squeezed and it's dark. What's on the other side? We're all going through, we're being born again, into a new world. And with that comes fear, anxiety, doubt, depression. It just is what it is.
Death. which is not what we think it is.
No,
Yeah.
no, neither is an apocalypse.
Not at all. The next episode, funny enough, is called Apocalypse Pearls. And the season of episode, or the first season of the Pink Hearse, is called Apocalypse Pearls. So it's crazy. You're mirroring things I was writing yesterday for the next episode.
I'm just a mirror myself, bro.
Yeah, man.
So I know there was more in that question.
Basically that was part one. Thank you for that. Way beyond this whole conversation, what I could have imagined, of course. But my dad's idea that perhaps Atlantis fell from becoming too drunk on its own power. And the idea in the book I'm reading, LSD in the Mind of the Universe by Christopher Basch, where in one of the many deep dives into himself and the universe, he discovers for him that resonates with me, the whole point of incarnating again and again, the whole point of this world is that we're learning how to wield our creativity and our conscious responsibility as infinitely powerful creators who, it seems, we're in a fetal position in this world, or this world is an egg, as Andy Weir wrote in one of my favorite stories of all time called The Egg. So the training wheels are on, or the bumpers in the bowling alley, thank God. But that's why we're here. And if Atlantis reached unimaginable heights and feats of things
it did.
I agree, 100%. And I'm a big reader of Kurt Vonnegut and Tom Robbins, not to be confused with Tony Robbins.
Tom's way cooler.
That's my brother. But yeah, all of the beautiful tidbits of evidence that our past selves have discovered these things, and you know, even just the amazing things we have with technology are really cool and maybe unique, sort of, but they're just little gadgets in an anciently magical theater of infinite possibility. We get too drunk on our creativity sometime, individually and collectively, just because we can, we think we do. We forget how to die. We rape the soil, which is what Aaron and I spoke about on the past episode. How do you tune into what's for you to express and come through?
Right,
not get too, because it happens to me every day, even doing this show or certain things, even us hanging last week.
It was
I'm
intense,
like,
wasn't
boom,
it?
and my pupils dilate just from being in this energy. And my brain is rattling so many possibilities, and I start to feel something beautiful and powerful. I start to feel the other parts of me wanting to like grab it, hold it, try, you know, just it's very difficult practice for me. So what are some of the ways that you continue to evolve in your wielding of your creativity?
To cover the first part about Atlantis, I agree. I believe that the technology to build the pyramids and all that was Atlantean, right? But Atlantis, Chem, Egypt, it's all the same thing. They're all connected. The thing about being drunk on creativity is really a narrative that's throughout a lot of the wisdom traditions. So Shaitan, Beelzebub, the morning star, he got drunk on the praise. So his job was to take everybody's prayers and turn it into music for God. So, you know, he's the angel of music. That's why he's so connected to us as musicians, right? Eshu Legba is a musician, and Ifa as well. It's easy to get drunk on creativity because it is an elixir. It is ecstasy or ecstatic mystical experiences are what we do on psychedelics. It's what we do when we make love, right? It's all creativity. So drug addiction is being drunk on creativity because creativity is the yearning for more, to create, right? So I would rather people have to work their way through their creative addictions than consume as much as we do. Because that's the other side of the coin. There's creativity and consumption. Now, if they're in balance, we're good. We need you to consume the creativity so we can have the resources to make it. But our culture is mainly based on consumption. So I would rather see, and I'm not saying I'm glad this happened, but I would rather there be the princes of the world that burn out early than Prince to be 75, fat with a TV dinner. Because I don't feel like the offering of what Prince brought would mean what it meant to us, or I could name 150 others. So I think it's a balance. I think that that's the risk we run. It's Icarus, right? We have to fly close to the sun to get the vibration out of it. and it's dangerous, man.
But now you're a Daedalus at the same
I
time.
am. But I've almost died. Like physically died many times because of this. I've been to rehab 3 different times. I've overdosed before. I have a lot of friends who have died. So I've been down that road of trying to manage that level of vibration. Meditation has helped in the beginning. Buddhism, specifically Tibetan Buddhism, really helped me out. Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche and Pema Chodron, and like that level of mindfulness. Thich Nhat Hanh too as well. And then I got into something called integral theory with Ken Wilber, spiral dynamics, which is a way to understand human cognitive development from the moment of the cavemans till now through a system, color system, and I've studied a lot to try to harness this thing because otherwise it will destroy you. And I think that what's happening right now is a lot of people are dying from a lack of creativity, right? A lot of people are dead on the inside at their job that they hate and feel like their life has so much more potential. So again, I think it's about balancing those energies out. And the big, big, big breakthrough for me to be sitting here now, able to communicate like this now, is master plant teachers and indigenous traditions that have helped me reconnect with the earth. Because what happens with high level, upper dimensional creativity is that it's useless if you can't ground it in the root chakra, right? It's useless on earth, at least. There's people in the 5th dimension breakdancing in my shit, right? Amazing. But I would love it if people in the 3rd dimension got a little bit of the sauce. Like, how do I do that? It comes through a very sturdy day-to-day practice, especially now. The guys who are really drugging as musicians, they aren't where we are emotionally, spiritually, vibrationally, where we are as a species. That shit isn't going to work like that anymore. They're going to die at 20, not 28, 40. They're going to die much earlier because there's not a lot of room for that. So the new one is get your body right, get your diet right, go outside more, drink more water. This is the way to harness what we have, because our inclination is to stay in the cave like Plato as long as we possibly can and channel because it's ecstasy. Creating music is the greatest thing ever, right? But no one hearing it is tragic. So what does it take to hear it? It takes sturdy self-discipline, self-worth, self-love, the ability to let go of expectations and outcomes. That takes real world work. Not playing the piano is not going to teach you that. You have to go in there and be like, why am I not able to bring this fruit to bear? My vine is weak. Well, how do I strengthen my vine so the fruit doesn't pull the vine off the tree? Okay. Right there, that's where it's at. Yeah.
Humbled, stumbled out of my own cave today.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
So,
you mind if I sing a little song real quick?
Anything. I was gonna say anything you want to add, because that was the last question.
I'll explain a little bit. This is a daily practice for me. I've been devout now in the study of Ifa for almost 2 years. It feels like I'd done it in previous lifetimes. It's Western African mysticism, spiritual system that's been around for about 10,000 years on record. I believe just like the tarot, it was in a different form that wasn't cards before. So I believe it's one of the oldest. What they do is they anthropomorphize spirit. They turn them into beings. There's like 400 different Orisha, O-R-I-S-A or O-R-I-S-H-A. I have 9 that I work with closely, and I'm going to sing to them and show you what that sounds like. I have a project that's coming out that I created with Erykah Badu's musical director. He's one of my closest friends. He's also a drummer. It's called Ola Orisha, right? And we're working with an artist in Lagos, and it's honoring 3 of them. But Ola is a man's name, and it means wealth. So this is the wealth of the Orisha. So when I say Ola, I'm saying the wealth of these powerful deities onto you and your ancestors. And wealth isn't just money, it's wellness and well-being, because from wellness and well-being comes financial abundance, not the other way around. Ola Orisha, Ola, Ola, Ola Orunmila, Ola, Ola, Ola ye manja. Ola, 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 obatala. Ola, 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 oshunyaya. Ola, 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 ogun baba. Ola, 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 oya. Ola, 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 eshulegba. Ola, ola, olo, dumare. Olo, dumare, wayo. Ache, ache. Ashe, bless you and your ancestors, your family, everybody listening. When you heal yourself, you heal the world.
Indeed. Back to the 3D for half a second here. How can people out there listening now connect with you, support you, or experience your creativity?
So Instagram's a good spot. It's instagram.com. Jeremy, Jeremy, Ian, Ian, Thomas, Thomas. Pretty soon I'm launching my own NFT marketplace called The Grandmothership, where I'm going to be working with all the indigenous tribes.
It might be out. It might be out.
It might be out by the time. It'll be out actually.
Yeah.
So it's GM ship ship.io.
Crazy.
And that's going to be the hub for most of my work moving forward. It's essentially my own ecosystem. I'm deplatforming from OpenSea and blah, blah, blah. I have my own and it's garden that I'm tilling and soiling. So, and if you just search Jeremy Ian Thomas, or my artist name now is Soulajit, Soulajit, Soulajit. JIT is just my initials, Jeremy Ian Thomas. Sola was given to me when I lived in South Los Angeles. SOLA is South Los Angeles, but I added the U because it's just fly. And so, and also in Jeet in Hindi and Sanskrit means origin. And Sola, solar, it's son of the sun.
Channel the sun, channel the soul, baby.
Baby.
We got things up our sleeves.
Yeah.
Thank you again. Trying to think. I think that's all she wanted to write today.
Beautiful.
Through you.
God bless
through
her.
us. God bless
thanks
her.
for having
Thank
me.
you. For real. I don't even know how to end this, so I'm just going to click the space bar. Much love, y'all. Thank you for listening. See you soon.